All right, you're here with News Briefs, and we have one of those interesting, new, very hot topics. Not really new, more like old, but hey, let's just proceed with the deal here. It says, if the poor must work to earn every dollar, shouldn't the rich? Yeah, this is a very interesting one, so let's get started. None of us live entirely on what we earn. We rely on the infrastructure, knowledge, and technology developed by those who have come before us and those contemporaneous with us. Instead of trying to mint each person's life's work into careful calculations of contribution and merit, it seems more sensible to pursue a fairer economy overall, one that directs its excesses not to the already rich, but to those who have greatest need, one that recognizes in its distributive structure that every person is immeasurably valuable, deserving of life and dignity. Now, to chime in on these statements, basically to break this down, everybody is getting broke off something. Everybody's getting some kind of lucrative compensation in some way or another. But here's the breakdown. When you break it amongst a lot of people, basically it's very expensive, but a lot less people get to really even live off of it, and they have to basically slave to get by with the little that they're given. However, the subsidies that these rich people or people who already have a lot are getting breaks on top of breaks while they already have money while not having to work at all. So to consider the average person who still has so many tasks to do will be considered lazy just because they're not in the workforce, working, making money, or doing hard labor, but still receiving benefits, while the rich basically can sit around and do whatever they want, vacation and play golf or whatever it is, whatever hobbies they have, and basically spend whatever time with their family they like while having maids, paying for maids, while having their money make money for them, while not having to work at all, and also still getting breaks from the government. However, a select few is very significant. So people are feeling as if, if you start from the top, saying let's cut some of these breaks and work our way down so that people will lower on the food chain, by the time they lose theirs, at least they'll have a foot to stand on, because that compensation could trickle down to the others who don't already have pre-existing money or money that they can sit on to make money for them, because that is true. That is very true. The more money you have, the more money you can make off of your money, and the less you have to work. Now, you can't really gain this caliber if you don't already have that money or some extreme form of wealth to follow up with. These breaks aren't fair to anyone. No matter what you do, there's always going to be a problem on one end or the other. However, one thing I do agree with, if your wealth was obtained in an unfair manner to where you have either slave labored anyone, or you got your wealth in a very cheap, cheesy, or you kind of cheated manner, you do need to be stripped of any benefits you have, while everybody else is forced to quote unquote play by the rules. So, honestly and truly, what I have to say on this end, it's a double-edged sword, because if you gain that kind of money, you don't want anybody stripping it from you either, because it's hella hard to get it. So, you can leave your comments in the section below, how you feel about it. Me, I stand on no side. I stand on the side that at least, at the most, if a person has a full-time job, there should be no reason why they have to pay so much in rent and so much additional in taxes, and basically get just straight ripped, all around the board in all of these fees. I feel that's not fair that you can fluctuate things that don't have a deficit. That's honestly and truly, to be 100% fair, that is an unfair method. That's an unfair business practice for them to be able to do that, because then what you're doing is you're blackballing and you're basically regulating the market to where people can't get above it. They're not even able to get an average lifestyle. Eating noodles, poor food, trash food, living in trashy conditions to where you're forced to live there and you don't have another option when you're working 40 hours a week, basically slaving. Because because the lower you are on the totem pole, the harder you have to slave to make do. For example, if we go to a person who's in retail, you go to someone who's in retail, they're going to get about 3 to 4 jobs that they're going to get about $9.50 to $10 an hour for doing management level jobs. If you don't do what I tell you to do, they get written up basically. You don't do what I tell you to do, you get fired, you get 3 strikes, and near teetering because you don't make enough to survive. You make it just enough. So if you lose a day or 2 of work, or you miss one, you most likely going to end up under your rent, and then you're going to have late fees on top of late fees. So realistically speaking, the people aren't necessarily being unrealistic. Now, I'm all for, if you want high quality things, yes, they should cost, but there should be no reason why you're able to raise the prices of things with no deficit and just charge people for nothing and pull in, rake in millions and millions a year just to give somebody a garbage place to stay in the slum environment. It kind of pushes people towards crime, because when you put somebody in a really rough situation, this is one of those very touchy topics to where people try to explain it, but they get far too aggressive with the way they explain it. If you put people in risque situations, there's no telling how they'll react. When you kind of back them into a corner of, look, hey, you could take this loan out and then be a little bit more in debt, hey, but you'll pay it on time and you won't get these over fees, but you'll get these minor loan fees, and little by little you pay your minimum balance, and before you know it, that $1,500 loan turns into $5,000. Well, that's all I have to say about this one. This is your news briefs. If you have anything, like I said, anything to chime in on, feel free to leave it in the comments section. Any additional questions or anything you may not have understood about this article, I can also break that down to you and what they're talking about, what they're speaking about, to get a clear understanding. So I'm out. Have a nice evening. This is News Briefs.